Perfect. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Balboa Park Committee meeting of October 7th, 2021. I want to welcome Johnny in the new role as our meeting administrator and facilitator this evening. Pass it over to him to read the governor's executive order for our virtual meeting, and then I'll take a quick roll call.
All right. Welcome, Balboa Park Committee members of the public, and city staff to the Balboa Park Committee meeting. I am Balboa Park District Manager Johnny Cho, and I'd like to share the meeting procedures with you before we begin the meeting. Until further notice, meetings of the Balboa Park Committee will be conducted pursuant to the provisions of the California Executive Order 29-20, which suspends certain requirements of the Ralph M. Brown Act. In the interest of public health and safety, board members will participate in meetings by Zoom webinar. As such, in accordance with the executive order, no members of the public will attend the meeting, but instead view or join the meeting proceeding via the link listed on the agenda and website. In lieu of in-person attendance, members of the public may submit their comments via the public comment web form or join the live meeting webinar. The instructions for joining the meeting will be provided in advance on the website and the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the board in writing must submit a web form prior to the meeting. For those wishing to speak during the live meeting webinar, when the item on which you wish to speak is called, press *9 on your phone keypad or press raise hand icon on your computer. When prompted, please state your name for the record and provide your public comment. You will have time allotted by the chair to provide your comment. Once your time has ended, your microphone will be muted. Pursuant to open meeting laws, no discussion or action other than referral shall be taken by the board on anything brought forth under non-agenda public comment. I'll turn the meeting over to Molly Chase, the chair.
Thanks, Johnny. So for taking a quick roll call, we're going to confirm the attendance. When I call your name, please unmute yourself and say present, starting with Howard Blackson.
Present.
Jang Nguyen. Molly Chase is present. Allison Soares.
Present.
Burr Marsh.
Present.
Victoria Coran.
Present.
William Aaron. Micah Parzan. Makeda Cheatham.
Present.
Makeda Sarah Daw. Catherine Johnston.
Present.
Hi, Catherine. And Chris Eddy.
Present.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Your attendance has been noted. As a reminder, to comply with the Brown Act, all motions and seconds must be verbalized by the committee members. We'll start with approval of the meeting minutes of September 2nd, 2021. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks,
This is
Howard.
Howard. Yes.
Motion by Howard Blackson. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Chris Eddy. Johnny, do we need to take roll, or can we just say?
Yes, I'll call roll. Molly Chase.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Catherine Johnson.
I missed last meeting, so I'll abstain.
Okay. Howard Blackson.
Yes.
Go down to Allison Soares.
Yes.
Burr Marsh.
Yes.
Victoria Coran.
Yes.
Makeda Cheatham.
Yes.
Sarah Daw. Oh, is Sarah? Oh, it's Chris Eddy. I'm sorry. I read the wrong. Chris Eddy.
Yes.
Okay. I have 7 and 1 abstention.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Now, do we have any requests for continuances? Seeing none, we'll move on to non-agenda public comment.
I believe we have 1 web form. And let me see. I'm gonna let Danielle speak right now, and I'll look for the web form. Okay, Danielle.
Okay, and can everyone hear me? Hello?
Hi, Danielle.
Oh, hi, thank you. My name is Danielle Lehman, and I'd like to report on some meetings I've attended recently. Last Thursday, the Captain Citizens Advisory Board met, and SDPD reported that 11 arrests happened in Balboa Park the week before. At today's Balboa Park Safety and Security meeting, SDPD reported that they're averaging 7 to 10 felony arrests per week in Balboa Park. Overall, there is less vandalism this past month, and most of the windows that were vandalized last month are now currently being repaired. There is still an individual at large, and he's wanted for a sexual assault in Spanish Village. So please report all vandalism, like we experienced just again last weekend, on the Get It Done app, or one can go online to do a police report, but also follow up by email or phone with the Rangers and SDPD so they're personally aware of what has been reported over the computer. The West Side new restrooms are being used for sleeping since most of them are locked overnight. And the process for obtaining a geographic restraining order was explained to us today. It was also suggested to have at least 1 security camera pointed to the exterior of the building, just in case a crime occurs nearby and suspects are fleeing the scene. So any camera footage is very helpful. SDPD did mention the need for a trailer. They are grateful for the Polaris and the 4x4 quads that they use on the trails in Balboa Park. And from HPR, House of Philippines hosted a private grand opening last Friday with 2 councilmen in attendance. This Saturday evening, House of Mexico will also host a private event in the same little plaza. Next Saturday, House of Korea will host both a public event at the Oregon Pavilion and a private event at the Balboa Park Club. And our own cottage of House of Czechoslovak will have 2 lawn programs this month on the 16th and the 17th of October. Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle. Johnny? Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm just moving someone over. Micah, are you back over?
Yeah, I'm back over. Thanks, Johnny. I apologize for being late.
No problem. I'm sorry that link didn't work originally. I don't have anything further on non-public agenda item.
Perfect.
Hi.
Bear has his hand up.
Rare?
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment about something that's happened in the park recently. I think everyone has probably seen the changes that have been happening on Pershing Drive. For those of you who haven't, city crews and staff have taken and reconfigured the entire stretch from Golf Course Drive up to Upus. Unfortunately, because 2 people were killed in the park recently. Laura Shin, who was the head of my local AIA chapter, and also Johnny Leon. And I'd just like to take this opportunity to, express my condolences and my hope that we as a committee and park staff can look into this issue in the future. Ultimately, it's my opinion that, if the park can't be accessed safely, and that includes our roads, that we're failing what I see as our core mission. And unfortunately, I know we've inherited these problems from designs and standards from long ago. But moving forward, I think that improving these would be a massive improvement to the park as a whole and to its users. So thank you for letting me make that comment.
Of course, thanks, Brian. Thanks for acknowledging the tragedy that happened in the park and for the whole community, as well as the work the mayor's office and Park and Rec to make those improvements that are definitely long awaited and in anticipation of what will be the Sand Ag project. But I join you in making sure accessibility and safety and mobility is something that we're going to address together, and look forward to kind of figuring out how we can tackle that as a committee. Do we have any other committee member comments before we move on to the
We have one more public comment from Bruce.
Yes, my name is Bruce Damon. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I submitted a web form to Johnny Chu regarding the haunted trail. And Mr. Chu, do you have that available?
So we just updated the web form. It was my mistake because it was going to Mario. That correction has been made, but if you want to speak or send me the thing, your web form, or did you want to just speak on it right now?
I can speak on it right now. My name is Bruce Damon, a resident of Bankers Hill, and I wanted to comment on the haunted trail that's in Balboa Park right now. It started in September and it finishes at the end of October, and it occupies a large portion of the West Mesa usable area south of Laurel Street to Elm Street for 2 months of the year for free. I think the most important thing, it's the special use permit does not require them to make any monetary contribution to the city except for a special use permit. Each year they do donate money to certain parts of the park, not all the park. Johnny Chu just sent me an email that indicated, and I think I can remember because I don't have it in front of me, but they donated as part of their use of the park for 2 months of the year. They made a donation to the city of San Diego for the use for $10,000 for Balboa Park. They also made a contribution to the San Diego Foundation, and they also made a contribution to a use in the muni gym. But they're not required to do anything as per their permit. And my request to the Balboa Park Committee was, if we're letting a for-profit event use our park, are we getting adequate compensation for our use of the park for 2 months of the year? The Balboa Park, West Mesa, needs a lot of work to be done. We have, and what they gave for $10,000 for the 2 months doesn't seem to be appropriate to me. So I wanted to see if the Balboa Park Committee and the Park and Recreation Department would verify for the citizens of the West Mesa that they're getting adequate compensation for the use of the park for the 2 months of the year. That's my request.
Thank you, Bruce.
Any questions?
Thanks, Bruce. With that, with no additional public comment, we will move on to the chair's report. I just wanted to start by, obviously Mario Llanos is not here today, but just thanking him for his decade of service to the park, to all of us, to this committee. I know that when I, in my past life, served for Councilmember Chris Ward, Mario was my lifeline in making sure I had access to the park and was always up to speed. And I just really appreciate everything that he did. I'm very excited about his new role, but I hope that everyone here with me can join Mario in congratulating him virtually wherever he is right now, probably enjoying his Thursday evening. I'm really excited for Johnny to be being our master of Zooms and helping us hopefully when we get back in person all together. And then also, I know we'll hear from Vic, but for Vic, for his new role in the park, we're really excited, and we hear you started in the park. So welcome to the team. I know your first day, I think, was Monday. So it's a good month to start. We look forward to working with you. That's all I have just as a general intro and update. And then I just wanted to make a plug, as we talked about last time, wanting to kind of set the stage for really what's the role of the committee, but also what are the roles of all of our partners. What are the organizations doing? What are their priorities for this next year? How can we learn about how each one of the partnering organizations that we hear about every month, their larger plan, and how that all engages with us as a committee? I really want to thank Christina and the team for setting those up. They're coming up in the next couple of weeks. You should have received an invitation. If you have not RSVP'd to any of them, please do. It says for new members, but I think it's really a great opportunity for all of us to get grounded in the work that everyone else is doing. I believe they're only an hour, so I hope that we can see you there. I will be there. If you would like to RSVP and you have not yet, just email Christina. And with that, I will turn it over to city staff reports. I can't see if Cody's on the line. If she is, we'll start with Cody from District 3. And if not, I'll pass it over to Christina. Oh, Cody thinks she needs to be promoted. Here she is. Hi, Cody.
Hello. I don't think it's letting me do the video, but just, real quick, happy to be here, everyone. Happy October. Just a few things. First, since our last meeting, I think I mentioned an upcoming workshop with the Commission for Arts and Culture for our council office. That ended up, the date changed. It was actually just before this meeting at 5 p.m. So we did have that. And if anyone wasn't able to attend, please feel free to reach out to me and I can help identify future workshops because the commission is doing them with all of the council offices just regarding funding opportunities for arts and cultural organizations. They did record ours, so that's going to be up at some point as well. And then I also wanted to, though he's not on, congratulate Mario. Councilmember Whitburn was happy to present him with a commendation at the end of his service. And we want to thank him for everything that he's done. And then just a few things. The council member recently attended the House of Philippines opening. He will be at the House of Mexico opening on Saturday as well. We're really excited about all of the new cottages that are coming to Balboa. We're going to be at House of Korea's opening as well. So if anyone's there, please feel free to say hi to our staff and the council member. And lastly, just because we've gotten a lot of questions about this, we're just reminding folks that the council meetings are continuing to be held virtually, remotely. And if anyone doesn't already know, you can watch those online on City TV or on Zoom. And I'm just going to put a link here in the chat if anybody needs information for that. And I think that's it for me. So thank you.
Cody, Christina.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Chair Chase. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to join Chair Chase and the rest of you in congratulating and thanking Mario, even though he is not here this evening, but for the incredible many years of service that he gave not only to the city, but of course to the park. He was a really valuable member of our team. So we wish him all the best in his new role and in his new living situation in the Imperial Valley. So congratulations to Mario. And with that, we would, of course, like to welcome and congratulate Victor Neva, or Vic, to our team on behalf of the Developed Regional Parks Division. We're very excited to have him as the new district manager for grounds maintenance. And of course, we look forward to introducing him to all of you in the coming days and weeks ahead. So if anyone is looking to reach him, please feel free to let us know. A couple other updates to share as far as the Comic-Con exterior renovation that is underway, and we are working really hard to ensure that, of course, that the work gets done before Comic-Con is open in November. Balboa Drive, we have completed the first leg of the inlay work on Balboa Drive between Upis and Quince and have reopened the gates at Upis. The second phase of this project will be closing down the road between Quince and El Prado. And this segment shouldn't take as long as the first one, but no more than a few weeks. So we are very excited and grateful to Mayor Gloria for his support on this project, and will continue to provide updates on that. The Botanical building for phase 1, the limited notice to proceed was issued to EC contractors recently. And so the Engineering and Capital Projects Department, together with our department, are moving forward very quickly and putting plans in place and making internal plans to initiate this work. So you should start to receive updates very, very shortly as we continue to move forward on that project. As many or as several others mentioned, in a move to separate cyclists and scooter riders from cars on Pershing Drive to increase safety, Mayor Gloria has directed city staff to install bollards to create bikeways in both directions. This is a temporary measure until Sandag begins construction on the permanent protected bikeways on Pershing. So we really appreciate the effort on that, and we will continue to keep you posted as Sandag moves forward with their effort as well. And lastly, the West Mesa restrooms are open, and we're very happy that those are now available to the public. So thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Christina. Johnny?
Hi, everybody. I just have one quick report. Phase 2 of the repainting of the Plaza de Panama has been completed. It was completed in mid-September. That's all I have for now.
Perfect, thank you. And then now I'd like to ask our nonprofit partners to provide updates. I believe Jackie Higgins is here to begin from Forever Balboa Park. Hey, Jackie.
Hi, thanks, Johnny, for the switch over there. Good evening, Chair Chase and committee members. Thank you so much for your service to Balboa Park. I'm really excited and looking forward to working with you all. And I want to thank Parks and Rec and specifically Christina for setting up the times on our calendars to be able to work directly with the committee members to align our efforts with the park prioritization framework. So there's a lot that has happened in the last year and a half with all the revitalization, and there's so much more to come as well. Forever Balboa Park continues to work to bring together a portfolio of 23 diverse park improvement projects, as well as 24 park-wide programs. As many of you know, we've launched a lot of volunteer organization or corps throughout the park. Notably, this past spring, the newest of those are the park stewards, or excuse me, the garden stewards that are working in all 20 gardens in the park. They work directly with horticulturist Megan Shaw and other members of Parks and Recreation staff to be the boots on the ground and support our park in improving all of the different gardens. We also have the tree stewards that are out and about all the time. And we have actually 4 replanting events that are scheduled for this fall, starting in late October, that go through the fall and into the winter, so that we can continue to monitor and maintain the over 800 trees that we have newly installed over the last 3 years in the park. So we're very grateful for all of the volunteer service that we have. We recently recruited a dozen new park ambassadors and visitor center volunteers that will be helping the visitors of the park as they come through with all kinds of questions and information. And as Christina mentioned, we continue to collaborate with the city on the restoration of the Botanical building and gardens. So thank you so much for all your continued work on that, Christina. I also did want to mention that the Visitor Center is experiencing a very significant increase in demands for custom tours for park visitors. They've been very successful in putting together architectural tours and garden tours, as well as just historical tours as well. So if you have any groups that are looking for those types of things, just send them on into the Visitor Center. We have noticed an uptick in the vendors in the Plaza de Panama now that they're not allowed to congregate in El Prado. And there is still concern about the safety and emergency access through the plaza, as well as over in the Cascades area for the vendors. And we continue to document that and encourage park visitors when they come in to complain about that to put it on the Get It Done app as well. I also wanted to just give an update on behalf of the Design Review Exploratory Committee. I'm pleased to report that our collaborative efforts with the representatives of Park and Recreation, the Committee of 100, Balboa Park Cultural Partnership, and design experts with extensive park experience have generated a formal proposal for a one-year pilot for the Design Assistance Subcommittee for the Balboa Park Committee. The subcommittee will consist of design professionals from several different disciplines related to park improvement and will serve as a resource to project sponsors, city staff, and evaluating, strengthening the park design projects. This volunteer advisory committee will conduct public meetings and follow established guidelines. The authorization to establish a subcommittee is currently being reviewed by the city attorney's office. And once that is confirmed, we look forward to bringing that proposal to the Balboa Park Committee. So again, thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Jackie. Up next, I believe we have Peter Kaminski from Balboa Park Cultural Partnership.
Howard Blackson had a comment.
Oh, hi, Howard. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I did have a question for Jackie. Do you, your subcommittee design review subcommittee comment and idea, great. Is there any way for us to review what you've submitted to the city attorney at this time? Or I guess, and my real question is, how do we bring the projects that we're workshopping to that committee? What's the relationship between the two, between your group, your subcommittee, and our board?
So Christina, do you want to comment on the process through the city?
Sure. So thank you for the question. The Design Review Exploratory or Subcommittee has created a proposal, as Jackie mentioned, and now we are in the process of having the city attorney review it for its legal feasibility. Once the city attorney has reviewed the proposal and provided those recommendations back to the city, we will then, of course, be reviewing that and then presenting it to this committee for your consideration before moving forward. However, before bringing it to you, we wanted to make sure all of that due diligence was taken care of so that whatever it is that you are contemplating is something that's actually can be implementable and is something that the department can support. So that's what we're in the process of doing now. And it shouldn't be other than, I would say, a month or so or the next meeting before you all have an opportunity to weigh in.
Thanks, Christina.
Thanks, everyone. If we have no further questions, we'll move on to Peter. He's here. Or I see Michael may have joined in on his behalf.
Good evening, Chair Chase and committee. Mike Warburton from the Cultural Partnership. Just a couple of quick updates from our side. With much ado and hand clapping and cute children in the screen, I am happy to say that the RFP for the visitor experience plan has been released. We are looking for responses to that proposal or to the RFP by mid-November, and that is a very cute kid. And then the other thing to update you all on, and you may recall, the Americans for the Arts in 2017 released the Arts and Economic Prosperity Report. And the Balboa Park Cultural Partnership will be working with the Americans for the Arts to create a new report, and that will take place over the 2022 year for release in 2023. Something that's very important with this report is it really showcases the economic impacts that Balboa Park has for San Diego, as well as the reach in things like employment and so forth. So we're really excited to help the Americans for the Arts to bring this back, this report back to us. And it is part of a larger report process for arts and culture within San Diego. So a couple of great things that are coming down the road here. And that's it. Thank you all for your service.
Thanks so much. Any questions for Michael on BPCP? With that, we'll move on to Nick Honeysett if he's here from Balboa Park Collaborative. I don't see him as a panelist. And if not, Roger Shelley from Committee of 100.
Hi, hi, it's Roger Sholey. Johnny, can I share my screen to show a few slides on a couple things? Oh, okay.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Roger, if you think you're talking, we can't hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Wait a minute here. I don't know why I'm see. Okay, can you hear me now? Yes. Okay, let me go back just a second. God. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Let's see, it's not working. Well, I'll do this verbally. The first thing I said was that you're all invited to attend a presentation or look at the bears we're going to put on the top of the Auto Museum in the next few months. And that's on Monday. You're all welcome to attend. I'll send the information to Christina if you'd like to join us, the board of directors of the Committee of 100 at 5 to 6:30 on Monday. You're seeing here is yesterday was the deadline to submit posters that the AIGA, the graphic arts people, and the Committee of 100 put together to celebrate the completion of the Auto Museum murals. We got 18 submissions. I haven't seen them what they look like, but the idea is to celebrate these projects in San Diego and Balboa Park year by year. So if this goes well, we hope that will be an annual event. Let's see now why. I'm sorry, I can't figure out why this is not proceeding. So let me stop sharing here. Well, anyway, on the next thing is As Christina said, we are looking forward to the completion of the painting of the federal building for Comic-Con. And if you go over there, you'll notice that the bagel color has been put on the east side, and then moving around on the south side. And if you look closely, you'll see that the ornamentation is a very golden looking color that we used on the Auto Museum earlier this year. That's called Honeymoon. So that's going to be a completely different look than, of course, what it looked like before. So we're looking forward to finishing that by November 26th is when the Comic-Con is going to open. Howard's giving me some instructions on how to manage my PDS, but it isn't working, so I don't know what to do about this. Let's see, on the municipal gym, our big project is we're moving forward with inspection of the structural integrity of the building, and the city needs to give us a right of entry permit in order to do so. So that's going to happen, I hope, in the next few weeks. Then we can inspect the marquee at the front of the building and see whether it can support the new artwork that comes back on that, as well as on the wall, where this incredible mural relief is going to be placed. And I think Christina said that's going to be in the offing pretty soon, so that's good news. And then finally, the big thing that happened this week also on Tuesday was the San Diego City Council approved a 99-year lease for San Diego High School. And we were very concerned about a number of elements and details in that proposal. It's never been done before. They're giving virtually no money to the Balboa Park for occupying the property, 34 acres, for another 99 years. But Mike Stepner is here, I think, and he's going to tell you what we were able to do in spite of that lease and for the benefit of the park. So Mike, if you're there, and Johnny if you can let him into the meeting, then he can tell you what's happened on that score.
Thank you, Roger, and members of the committee. Yes, the Committee of 100 has been working with some of the council offices to really look at the lease agreement between the high school and the park as an opportunity to not have a park that's occupied by a school, but they have a school in the park, and to really take advantage of it and of the opportunity to look at the entire region and how you begin to grow the park. Balboa Park, as you all know, has been shrinking over the years. How you begin to grow the park, how you begin to connect the park to the adjacent neighborhoods. And one of the recommendations that came out of the meeting that Councilman LaCava recommended was, number one, that we establish a working group to look at the park. And could have been the design review board that Jackie talked about earlier, but that's not up and running yet. But that the Balboa Park Committee actually take the lead and help form a working group composed of people representing the schools, the city college, the park, and other organizations that are interested. Look at the opportunities. Can we really create a promenade that runs from downtown along Park Boulevard, past Balboa Park, past the high school, and connects across the freeway with the park? Right now, as a pedestrian, you cannot do it. The 14th Street Promenade that the city is working on, been a lot of discussions about extending it south to connect the communities of Logan Heights and Barrio Logan to the park, and running it through City College, which is underway right now, and then running it between the stadium and the school, and really building a nice bridge across I-5 instead of the leftover Caltrans bridge that's very unsafe, and really using that as a catalyst to complete the planning for Inspiration Point and really develop that as part of the park. So we're encouraging that, well, number one, that the Balboa Park Committee take an active role in asking staff to schedule meetings in a presentation, perhaps with San Diego High School, help form the working group, and to also develop a work program to look at for the working group that's based on the talking points that Councilman LaCava came up with and the letters that this Committee of 100 came out with. So we're urging that the staff move forward with this as per the direction of the council, and that we as Committee 100 stand ready to work with the Balboa Park Committee to see how we bring this about and take advantage of this opportunity to really grow the park and connect to the adjacent neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Roger and Mike. Do we have any comments from the committee? If not, we'll move on to Steve. We have Howard.
I'm gonna get in trouble here, aren't I? You guys are, I'm sorry. The comments, if there is, if the board so chooses to put together a working group as was discussed with the council member and the Committee of 100, I would be happy to volunteer to be a part of that or to lead it or whatever you need. I think this is important. And I'll just say real quick, the reason why I think it's important is it's one of the few places where on the south edge of the park where a freeway or Pershing doesn't cut off. The school is the connection to East Village, to the innovation the idea district that's going to rise with the growth of our tech industry downtown, and with all the city colleges and the schools and the library up and down Park Boulevard. It's a great connector, and if we can begin that, it does expand the park, and I think that's something that is important to us. So I'd be happy to volunteer. If we decide, and I'm not sure, I'd love to ask that we can talk about this as a group and decide what our role should be and could be, because I agree with Mr. Stepner and Mr. Shelley, this is important.
Thanks, Howard. I appreciate your comments. Creating a subcommittee for this type of work is obviously not agendized, so not up for discussion necessarily today, but I'll talk to Christina about bringing something back around subcommittees generally in the future, as I've heard from a number of other folks about interest in different subcommittees.
Really dumb question. What subcommittees do we have on our BPC right now? Do we have many?
Christina, do we have any that are currently, I know history of some, but
There are some. Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
Brer has his hand raised too.
Fair.
Thanks. I really enjoyed hearing your feedback on the possibility of a working group. I would encourage you to engage District 3 and the council districts adjacent to the park in your efforts to form this, perhaps even the community planning groups. I think there are a lot of great ideas that have already been floated and are out there down here in District 3. And I think it would be in your interest to speak to some of the local council members as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Fair. Not seeing any other hands raised. I think Steve Stopper had to jump off, but in case he's still here, is Steve available from Save Starlight? Not, I think we will hear from him next time. We have one item on the consent agenda this evening. Does anyone wish to pull the item or make a motion on the consent agenda?
I just, I don't necessarily want to pull it, but I wanted to clarify that in the summary, they had made a change. I know this sounds like whatever, but they had made a change to include milkweed. But in the document, it hasn't been changed. And I just want to make sure that that isn't overlooked because it's not in the palette. And you know, in terms of the landscape plan, and I just happen to love monarch butterflies and I want to preserve them.
And I'd like to say, it appears to me that the Natural History Museum Landscape Development Plan is on the consent agenda. Is that true? Is that what that says? I would like to pull that.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you.
So I believe Vicky is here from Natural History Museum, and Judy. We were requested to pull the item. Do we have a presentation?
Yes, actually, this is Charlie Daniels, the park designer with the Parks and Recreation Department. I agreed to do the presentation for this tonight. So I'm going to start to share my screen here.
Thanks, Charlie.
Boy, things move a lot slower when you're in a Zoom meeting because this is supposed to have launched into the slideshow by now. Okay, here we go. So good evening, Chair Chase and members of the committee. Again, this is Charlie Daniels. I'm a park designer with the Parks and Recreation Department. And we're here this evening to get your recommendation on the proposed general development plan for the Natural History Museum. So the requested actions are, should the Balboa Park Committee advise that the proposed GDP for the Natural History Museum is consistent with the Central Mesa Precise Plan? And should the Balboa Park Committee recommend approval of the proposed GDP? So this is a footprint of the area that the GDP covers. It's superimposed over the aerial photograph for the Natural History Museum. The Natural History Museum is actually located, the project itself is kind of on the border between the East Prado and the North Prado areas. You can see the two areas circled there. So the northern portion of the GDP is within the East Prado area, or North Prado area rather, and the south part is in the East Prado area. So when reviewing this project for consistency with the Central Mesa Precise Plan, one of the things I was looking at is the landscaping component in the Precise Plan. So you can see this is an excerpt that says, rehabilitate and modify the Central Mesa's landscape. I have to move this window, it's blocking my screen. Landscape in a manner which preserves its historical significance, accommodates a wide variety of public park activities, and increases public enjoyment of the park environment. I believe that the proposed GDP does meet this overall goal for the landscape of the Central Mesa Precise Plan. As far as the landscaping, the goal of this section is to restore, rehabilitate, and modify the Central Mesa's landscape in a manner that preserves its historic significance. This is actually a repeat of the same item. Accommodates a wide variety of public park activities, increases public enjoyment. All landscape design in the Central Mesa is based on historic precedent. Wherever possible, historic conditions are preserved or restored. Where new features must be incorporated, they complement, respect, and support both the original design intent and the existing historic features that remain. In looking at the Central Mesa Precise Plan's graphics, there are very little of the original landscaping from the 1915 and 1935 expositions remaining in the park. As far as the planting design guidelines, the goals say landscape planting should be designed to conserve as much water as possible. And then it also states that lawns that serve a primarily a decorative function in small areas such as street medians should be phased out and replaced with drought-tolerant low shrubs and ground cover. The GDP proposed accomplishes both these goals. It reduces the water use of the plant palette, and it also takes out a couple of non-usable turf areas and converts them over to drought-tolerant shrubs. So this is just another excerpt, basically talking about exotic plant species that take full advantage of San Diego's mild climate, lush tropical appearance. And it also says to use plants that are particularly associated with San Diego or were popularized because of their appearance in the 1915 exposition. The exposition focused on a lot of very tropical plants, didn't really focus on drought-tolerant plants, but I interpret this to mean that plants that are particularly associated with San Diego is really talking about native plant palettes. So because of these reasons, staff advises that the proposed GDP for the Natural History Museum is consistent with the Central Mesa Precise Plan, and staff recommends approval of the proposed GDP. I'm just going to give you a brief recap. This is essentially very similar to the GDP that you saw at the workshop last month. So again, this is the overall general development plan, and it's broken into 5 different garden areas. So this is the overall plant legend for the project. So in the very northeast corner is where we have the boulder gathering area and discovery trail. And as you may recall, this is essentially an extension, I'm going to use a laser pointer, an extension of the meandering path, decomposed granite path that was installed by staff. It continues that path all the way down, and it takes out a non-usable turf area here, and it creates a gathering space that could also be used as an outdoor classroom. It also includes redoing the plants that are in the existing planters over on the east side of the building. This is the Pollinator Garden, which is on the southeast corner of the building. Essentially what this area does is it introduces a new decomposed granite pathway through the landscape. It will completely redo the landscaping while retaining the existing trees. It also trims back the turf to just a very simple panel along El Prado. And this is consistent with the turf panels that we have all the way along El Prado, from the Museum of Us all the way up to the Plaza de Balboa. This is the Canopy Garden. It is called the Canopy Garden because of the very large ficus tree that is at this corner of the building. The canopy of this tree is actually much larger than what is shown. It actually goes out to where the decomposed granite walkway is. Our horticultural staff did not want to see a lot of activity in this area. They wanted to see it preserved, as just a viewing garden, because when we had the Morton Bay Fig open to the public up to the north, we got a lot of trampling and people hanging on the aerial roots, and it was very harmful to the tree. So we don't want the same fate for this tree. We did allow a decomposed granite walkway to be placed through the turf area, and this reduces the turf down to a similar strip as on the other side. And the plant palette for the Canopy Garden is shown over to the right. On the left is the seasonal sensory garden. The main change here is it's going to have a new decomposed granite pathway into the garden area for people to actually go into the garden instead of just looking at it from the side. And then there will be a low accent wall here that people can use for sitting on. And the intent of this garden is to have seasonal change. So the intent is to change it out, basically 4 times a year, give or take, and provide stimulation for the different senses such as smell, sight, different flower colors, touch, so different textures to leaves, things like that. And then the last area is the North Shade Garden. One of the changes made here is that there was a request for there to be some seating up in this area in the vicinity of the Casa del Prado Theater. So there was a small arc of turf that was unusable where this new decomposed granite pad is. So the turf goes out, it allows more room for additional drought tolerant plants, and it provides a seating space in this area as well. So with that, I'd like to open up to any questions and discussion.
Getting stuck on mute. I see Howard and then Chris.
Thank you, Molly. And thank you for the presentation. I appreciate you showing it again. Could you just go up one slide to that north shade garden area, please. There's so much to like about this plan. I really appreciate a lot of it. But I'm the one that said last month about the seating, and the seating that I discussed that I see an issue with is the spillover from the Prado Theater, from the theater, children's theater, is what I was trying to accommodate for. And both of these seating arrangements and this new seating arrangement are still pulled away from that corner, from the crosswalk where people sit and wait and pick each other up, and it helps with circulation. The point I'm going to make is the plan is very self-referential just to the Natural History Museum. It doesn't, I don't think it does a great job of appealing to.
You're breaking up.
I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I don't think it does a great job of appealing to the context around it. And then I want to say that neither does this committee discussion allow for us to have great feedback and conversation, because what I had discussed about seating there at the crosswalk area on the corner, just like where the Boulder area is, it's only next to 100 parking spaces, whereas this is next to hundreds of people. I was hoping to see a similar situation with great seating on that crosswalk area. But how can we do it when we do these types of meetings? And so the design review board, design review dialogue with the design team doing this, I think would be extremely important. So I will reluctantly support. I don't even know if I want. I'm really disappointed in the location of the seating because it's away from where we talked about, but it's not your fault because we can't talk about it more than just like this. So I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that. Oh, Vicky, go ahead.
Howard, can I respond to why we put it there and not where you requested? I know you wanted it right there where the black line is, and see, there's a ramp that goes down there. The ramp was not going to go away, right? Mm-hmm. And the east, the Century Garden area was quite narrow and quite small, and there are a couple of reasons to take away from that and put some seating area and a little DG area. We just felt that it would really begin to compromise the nature of that garden. Plus, Howard, the fact that when kids are sitting down, remember those are cars parked right there. Unlike the other side where you're not going to get picked up as much if you've got a few kids waiting there, and we can probably only fit 1 or 2 benches anyway. And if I'm sitting here waiting for my parents to pick me up, I'd rather sit there looking at a nice big tree rather than looking at the fronts of cars. And so the decision was made, understanding what your request was, and that's why we put those benches there, because when those parents come by and they honk and so forth, you can actually see them better from where we put the benches than you would if you were right in that little narrow area where we had the Century Garden. And again, your point was well taken, and we did revise the plan to accommodate that. And whether there's a design review board or not, certainly this could have been discussed. But I think that space there is a little narrower than you might think it is. Because
no, I'm not worried about the narrow. I'm worried about the location once again. And I'll just say this: how could we have discussed this, as you just said?
That's not my purview. I mean, I'm in favor of a design review board. I mean, and certainly, okay. I've done that. I presented for many years to that design review board, on many issues in Balboa Park. And you are right. We could have sat down and gotten really down and dirty and discussed it in a different way than you can now. All right.
Okay.
But I just wanted to respond to you to make you realize why we did what we did. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Howard.
No, thank you very much.
I would also add that the Zoom forum is also a little inhibiting to the interaction process.
Yeah.
But we're also building a space that's going to be here for another generation.
Well, okay.
So it's important.
Charlie, can you go back up to the Pollinator Garden list, because I want to respond to the question that Chris is going to ask. Just kind of up, page up to the Pollinator Garden. Right there. Oh, you passed it. And you can look in the right-hand corner there. Nope. The Pollinator Garden, it's coming. Keep on going there. See how it says California milkweed, Chris? And you had mentioned in your comment that it wasn't added to the list. It was. Do you see it, Chris? Hello?
It's the very last one.
Looks like he fell off the call.
Thank
Oh,
you.
just-
And it's actually bold, which made it hard for me to see.
Aha. We did it on purpose, so you make sure you didn't miss it, and you missed it.
My apologies. Thank you very much.
All right, and so those are, and the only other change we made was just doing some improved benches in the Boulder area. So those are the only 3 changes that we made compared to the presentation that we had a month ago at the workshop. And I don't know if, I mean, I know you had questions, Molly, and I know Judy was prepared to make a few comments if she's able to at this point, or you want to wait till the questions are asked. Brer has a question.
Can I just one comment about the benches, because I really appreciate Howard's question about seating, and if we can go back up to there's that area, the grassy area just to the north of where we are. That corner seems like it's a much better, more open place for seating, and we would be very, very happy to work with the city to think about seating in that corner. We didn't want to encroach outside of that little envelope of that part of the plan, but it looks like there's a nice flat corner area that doesn't have historic plantings around it that we're not going to disturb, that could work for seating as well as the area to the south.
Okay, good point. Thanks, Judy.
May I ask why the boulder gathering area is able to encroach into that? There is a notch. I'm just curious where the notch came from that goes to the north.
At the Boulder area?
Yes, slide 24.
Well,
shows
the reason that is that when he gets to it is there's an existing DG path, Howard, that in that little grove area that really goes to nowhere. So the difference there, it's not encroaching, it's actually continuing the path. There you go. See how that right there where Charlie's pointing, that path stops. So it was never continued.
Okay.
So we really that's why it did it that way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr.
Thank you.
Marshall, get a chance to ask his question.
Thanks. Thank you for your presentation, if he's still on. And thanks for making those changes, Vicky. It's nice to see, a culture of a dialogue and a culture of response in these type of design issues. And I'm just going to add my perspective for what it's worth. I think Howard's points were excellent. I've seen the people gathering down there, and I also appreciated his suggestion about creating more of a formal waiting space and a square type atmosphere around that crosswalk. But with respect, I would suggest that your solution, while a reasonable alternative, isn't actually going to function as a successful waiting pickup area. When you're designing these sorts of pickup areas, you don't want it to be 50 feet away from where people are going to try to be picking up. They need to be along the road, or at least in eyesight. And I'm just looking at the street view on Google at the moment, and I'll just finish up my comment here quickly. If you place the seating area down along that path, parents are going to stop in that crosswalk so they can get eyesight down to where the people are waiting. So what will end up happening is the cars will be, just by nature of the way people try and connect, will be blocking the crosswalk. So in order to have a successful pickup area, it will need to be along that sidewalk that runs adjacent to the parked cars. And that's my only input there. Thank you, though, again, for your efforts. I really appreciate it.
Here's what I would do there, okay? See where the crosswalk goes straight across. What I would do is either north or south of the crosswalk, take 2 of the spaces out, okay? And you don't have to put a curb and just kind of paint it a different color like you did Prado. And in that area, then you actually have the benches that are looking right at the theater. That's the parents can pick them up. They're right there. It doesn't encroach into any landscape area. We could add a couple trees and planters, and right where the little handicap symbol is, Charlie, if you can point to the handicap symbol, if those two spaces there became a little mini plaza, that's where I think the benches would go. Does that make sense, Baron Howard?
Well, it would be wonderful to workshop this with you. Let me say, it's kind of hard to say here without being able to sketch and look at options. I think there's probably a lot of good ideas you could come up with, and I'm sure Howard has some as well. So I don't know how that would happen, but I think it would be a really productive experience if we say in the design review.
Agree. Here's the good news, though. What we're proposing now does not prohibit anything we just talked about from happening, right? We can still, it doesn't hurt to have the benches where we put them. We can add more later to actually fulfill the request that Howard had.
Okay, thank you, Vicky. If I don't see any additional committee member comments, does anyone have a motion to adopt staff recommendations?
Wait, I would make a motion.
Okay.
I'll second
to
that.
adopt staff recommendation.
Thank you. Johnny, can you call the roll? Sorry, my dog is barking like him.
I was hoping to make a comment.
Hey, Steve.
This is Steve Hill with Mayor Gloria's office, and I just wanted to note for the record that that we're supportive of and excited about this project. We believe it's consistent with Central Mesa Precise Plan, complementing and respecting the goals of focusing on drought tolerant and native plants. It will not only enhance the public space, but it will be a physical connection that ties the Natural History Museum to the public space outside. And in all, we believe it will provide a wonderful benefit to the park. Thanks.
Thank you, Steve. We have a motion by Howard, a second by Catherine.
I'm gonna call row. Molly Chase,
Yes.
Catherine Johnston,
Yes.
Howard Blackson,
Yes.
Allison Soares,
Yes.
Barrera Marsh,
Yes.
Victoria Karen,
Yes.
Makeda Cheatham,
Yes.
Chris Eddy.
Yes.
All right. It's unanimous.
Perfect. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you. Yay. Bye-bye.
Johnny, I'm not sure, you didn't call me, but I think that's because I wasn't officially here when you started, but my vote would be yes.
Yes. Thank you, Micah. I'm really sorry. I apologize for that.
All good. Thanks.
So Johnny, for my count, is that 9 total votes for?
Yes, 900.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Charlie. Now we'll move on to special events. Item 301 is the March for Babies date change. Cassandra Dawson.
Give me 1 second. I'll move Cassandra. Okay. Cassandra, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you. Did you need me to present this? I wasn't informed about doing a formal presentation. Just acceptance.
Yeah, just you would just explain what you guys are doing, and we will, because our staff recommendation is there just in case anyone has any questions on your presentation.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So March for Babies, we are looking at being back fully in person in 2022. We did take a break in 2020 and 2021 due to all the things and why we're holding this meeting on Zoom right now. But we are looking at being back in 2022 because of our virtual experience in 2021. We did move our date back for 2021 for our virtual event. Sorry about that. My computer likes to mute itself. So because of that, we wanted to provide the same amount of time for our 2022 event. So instead of holding our event at the end of April, we're looking to move it to the third Saturday in May. A lot of our times would be the same as in prior years. Event would be 7 to 11 a.m. Setup occurs on the Friday prior. I noticed on the information it says 9 p.m. to 5 p.m. It's actually 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we are expecting about 2,000 people for our event. Were there any questions?
Thanks, Cassandra. Does anyone have questions or a motion on staff recommendation? And thank you for the clarification on the time from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. With no questions, do we have a motion or a second on the staff recommendation?
A motion to approve.
Thank you, Brer. Do we have a second?
I'll second it, Allison.
Thanks, Allison.
Okay. For the vote, Molly Chase,
Yes.
Catherine Johnson,
Yes.
Howard Blackson,
Yes.
Allison Soares,
Yes.
Brer Marsh,
Yes.
Victoria Karen,
Yes.
Micah Parson,
Yes.
Makeda Cheatham,
Yes.
and Chris Eddy.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous 900.
Great. Thank you, Cassandra. Now we'll
Thank
move on to our information items this evening. Item 501 is the House of Korea event on October 23rd. Patrick is here.
Yes, I'm here. Johnny, do you have the slideshow to show?
Yes, I can present it. I did not.
While he's doing that, I just want to say thank you for your time, Velvet Committee. I've never been to one of these before for the park, but I can really appreciate what you're doing and the end result for citizens of San Diego. I will not read what you're going to see. I think that's a bit redundant. I know you can all see it, but if somebody wants me to read, I'd be happy to do it as we go through it.
Okay, can you guys see the screen? Okay.
Okay, ribbon and scissors, we all seen it. The House of Korea is built. We don't have occupancy yet. There's water, sewer issues with House of India. So we're not yet having open houses, hoping in week to week, nothing this weekend. Next slide, please. The Korea Day at Balboa Park, typically we've had Koreaful night during the year. We didn't have it last year, but this year we're having it, and we're partnering with Korean Culture Center in LA. They're providing a lot of the cultural stuff. There's a large, as I'm sure you're all aware, Korean American population up there. So as it moves down, you're going to see some of the stuff they're bringing down that'll make it a wonderful insight in Korean culture. There's going to be a K-pop concert, a relatively new group. They're flying in from Korea. Some performances. I don't know much about that part of music, but I think it'll have some interesting times. From 3:30 to 5:40, we're planning the Korean Dinner in Balboa Park Club. There'll be a culture box exhibition, which you see the one down to lower right before you see the food. And it says 200, 250 invited and guests. We're right at about 100 now because of the late start. And I think just people's calendar, whatever, we're probably going to only end up with 150. But those of you that are involved with Balboa Park organizations, we've been trying to reach them. We got a list from Council Member Whitburn's office. If you know anyone that would like to attend the dinner, they can contact me, contact JJ, who's their president. She's in Korea. That talks about the rental hours there. If there's any questions, I'll address that.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Patrick other than excitement for some K-pop in the park, which I have? So I'm out of town that weekend, but it seems like a great event. Thank you for the information. It's also very bright and right now. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to say I had nothing to do with preparing that, so credit goes to someone else.
Thanks for the information.
Thank
With
you for
that,
the time. Appreciate it.
course. With that, we'll move on to our last item of the evening. Item 502 is the Balboa Park Pipeline Replacement Phase 2 update. I believe Deb Matheson is here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to give you information about the Balboa Park Pipeline Replacement Project that's going on. It started September. Project duration scheduled for 450 days. And the goal is to replace water and sewer mains. It's being handled by Ortiz Corporation that has been in contracting construction for over 40 years. And they're local and they're on site working night times from, from 9 p.m. To 5 a.m. Sundays through Thursdays. And the location, and Johnny has a couple of maps to show you. It's located along Park Boulevard from Weber Street, going north to Upas. And that's the one that's up, okay. So Upas is up top there, and then it goes south down to Weber, all along Park, and then it will go in Village Place and Zoo Place and Zoo Drive. And then you can see over on the left top, a little bit over on Richmond. So we're working, we meet weekly with the zoo because we'll be going into their property in November. On Zoo Drive and Zoo Place. And we have a schedule, a work schedule, construction schedule also that Johnny can show you. So I'm not sure. So there's the schedule. It's always, we're quite amenable to adjusting because when there's perhaps, like, for example, the rainstorm, the lightning, that maybe puts things a day or two ahead, but we're working closely with the zoo because they have several moratoriums and we work around that. As far as that here goes Zoo Place, and then goes up to Zoo Drive. So we're south of that right now, and we'll be arriving up to the entrance, as I said, towards the end, middle to the end, I think about around November. And as far as representatives for Ortiz Corporation and the city of San Diego, Rick Collette is the resident engineer, but I believe that David Brady is available for questions, as well as Ortiz personnel. Lucy Ortiz Tristan, she's the project coordinator and point of contact. Cesar Gonzalez is the project manager. Kyle Ponce is the foreman. Are there questions?
Howard?
Do I select or Rick? Howard?
Thank you. I just have one quick question. At the end of the schedule, there's a slurry seal moment.
Yes.
And I'm curious, Stephen Hill's here, are there any sort of bike lane paint that we can throw down at the time that this is being painted and throw down, or am I asking for way too much, as I tend to have done all night?
If that question is directed at me, I'm going to have to defer it back to staff because I don't know the answer.
I guess it's not. Deb, do you have any idea if there's any sort of paint that can be done at the same time the slurry seal is being done, so it can be done all at once?
I don't have the answer, but I'll certainly ask and get the answer to you. So what are you talking about?
Park Boulevard having any sort of improvements to Park Boulevard that are similar to the what we've done on Pershing and beyond.
You mean striping? When you
Yes,
say
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. And you're just talking about lane striping, or you're talking?
Yes.
Okay. That normally is a part of it, but I will,
I didn't see anything about it. I just saw the at the end of the timeline, so I thought I'd ask. Thank you.
uh-huh.
I'd also like to jump in. Howard, we're happy to get some of that information for you, and we can provide that offline as well.
Thank you.
Christina. Okay, with that, I do see that we may have a public comment.
So I don't believe we allow public comment because
Comment
it's only
button.
for
Yeah.
board members.
Perfect. Any additional questions? We'll make sure Christina gets that info over to Howard or the whole team. If not, with that, that's our last item. So our meeting is adjourned until the next meeting of November 4th. We'll look forward to seeing you all then.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Molly.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody, take care.